Good morning and welcome to this voting meeting of the House Finance Committee. I would like to start by having our senior committee legislative assistant call the roll, but I do want to say that our chair, Keith Greiner, lost his dad last week, and there'll be services in Leola in Lancaster County on Saturday. So Chair Greiner will be voting by designation at this meeting, and we as a committee give our condolences to Chair Greiner and his family. I'd like to have Lori Smith call the roll.
Chairman Samuelson.
Here.
Rep. Abney.
Vote by designation.
Cepeda Freites.
Vote by designation.
Fleming. Here. Gallagher. Here. Gungauer.
Vote by designation.
Harris.
Vote by designation.
Inglis.
Vote by designation.
Krajewski.
Vote by designation.
Rabb.
Vote by designation.
Scott.
And vote by designation.
Vincent.
Vote by designation.
Webster. Waxman.
Waxman, vote by designation.
And Webster.
And Webster, vote by designation.
Chair Greiner.
Sorry. Vote by designation.
DeVanzo.
Vote by designation.
Fritz. Gatos. Jones.
Vote by designation.
Kephart.
Present.
Kutz.
Here.
Mako. Rossi.
Present.
Rinkavich.
Vote by designation.
Stamba.
Here.
And Stender.
Vote by designation.
And I appreciate Representative Rossi serving as chair today. Now the chair calls up House Bill 1540, printers number 1681. I'm sorry. Take two. The chair calls up House Bill 1450, printers number 1681. And I'd like to have our senior committee executive director read a brief summary of the bill.
This bill would establish the first-time homebuyer rebate program using realty transfer tax.
And the question before the committee is, will the committee report House Bill 1450? We had a hearing on this bill back in May 14th, and we had prime sponsor, Representative Nathan Davidson from Dauphin County, before us that day. I'd like to give Representative Davidson the opportunity for a brief comments on the bill, then we'll get into some amendments that we have filed to this legislation. Representative Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the members of the committee for considering this bill today. I'll just keep my remarks very high level about the bill. The idea here is to help homebuyers and get the market moving. There's a housing crisis across the country right now, and any way we can help homebuyers and more families getting homes is a good thing. So I appreciate the work of the staff on both sides of the committee for their diligence. And I know I've been working with my co-prime sponsor from Cumberland County, my colleague, Mr. Kutz, on this bill. So I appreciate the committee's consideration today. I'll be here for any questions, and thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you, Representative Davidson. And now, before the committee, we have three amendments that have been listed. I'd like to start by saying that Representative Kutz offers Amendment A02220. And will the committee agree to the amendment? On that question, I'd like to have our senior committee executive director, Mark Foreman, read a summary, and then I'll call on Representative Kutz for comments.
Yeah, this amendment does a number of things. It would limit the scope to first-time home buyers. It would make sure that it's on a first-come, first-served basis. It would require a repayment if the home's purchased or resold within 5 years. And it would make sure that you receive documents at the time of doing the realty transfer and not a separate program.
Thank you, Mark Foreman. I'd like to call on Representative Kutz for comments on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an agreed-to amendment. It makes a few changes after conferring with stakeholders and our caucus as well that we think makes the bill better. Just offers some qualifying clarifications. I'll be a yes vote today. It is an agreed to amendment, and I would ask for all my colleagues on both sides to join in supporting the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kutz. And I appreciate Representative Kutz working with Representative Davidson on the language of this amendment, making some important changes, and working with our staff. I do agree to this amendment, clarifying that we're talking about first-time home buyers. You can only get this once in your lifetime. And also, it's on a first-come, first-served basis. We believe the program would have enough funding to handle all of the first-time home buyers that would apply, but in case it doesn't, this would clarify that it's first-come, first-served each year. And if you buy a house and get the home buyer rebate, and then you sell it or flip it, you have to pay it back. It's a prorated. The amendment provides for paying back on a prorated basis if you sell the house within the first 5 years. I do also appreciate the additional documentation, additional notice, so that everybody at the time they're paying the realty transfer tax knows that this program would be available. I'd like to open it up to any questions from committee members on the Kutz amendment. Seeing none, are there any negative votes on the Kutz amendment? Amendment A02220 passes unanimously. I'd now like to call up a Samuelson amendment, and my amendment is A02267. Will the committee agree to the amendment? On that question, I'd like to recognize Mark Foreman, our Senior Executive Director, for an analysis of that amendment.
Yeah, so last year we put into law some appeals reforms, things like having more time for taxpayers to appeal, a compromise process, as well as clarifying the steps of how you appeal. And so this would just make sure we reference that section of law.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. We did make some updates to our appeal process last year that applied to all Department of Revenue functions, and this amendment would make this bill consistent with those 2024 changes that are now law for the rest of the Department of Revenue. Are there any comments on the Samuelson amendment or any questions? Are there any negative votes on amendment 0A2267? Amendment 02267 passes unanimously. I'd now like to recognize Representative Kephart, who offers Amendment 02265. Will the committee agree to the amendment? And on that question, I'm going to recognize Representative Kephart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just speak briefly on my amendment, and I'll be withdrawing today. My point of my amendment is to make a point that under this bill, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have, oh, it says green. But
Testing, testing.
yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me now? There we go. Okay, so I'm withdrawing my amendment today, but I just want to make a point. I will save the amendment for the floor. I would agree that there is a problem with housing affordability now, and I will speak on the bill itself on that point. So we're going to have people pay in, but then we're going to take 10% of that money and divvy it back out to a select group. So everybody pays in, we're going to tax some to give to others. Just want to make a point. I mean, that is literally redistribution of wealth in a way. So I will withdraw my amendment and hold it for the floor. I just think we should be benefiting everybody, make the tax code or tax system clearer, simpler, just get rid of the stupid tax as a whole. I'd be in favor of that. But anyhow, I'm going to withdraw for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kephart. Amendment is A02265 is withdrawn. I'd like to note for the record that Representative Inglis is present online. And I'd like to, now the question recurs, will the committee report House Bill 1450 as amended? and I would like to open it up to questions. Let me start by, I appreciate Representative Davidson offering this bill. I appreciate Representative Kutz making improvements to the bill. I do not want to note that during our testimony that we had back in May, we talked about the amount of funding that's coming in through the realty transfer tax and the state share. We have a 20-year look back from the Department of Revenue. In recent years, it's been $400 million, $500 million. 1 year during the pandemic, it was $800 million. The most recent year was $530 million. Now, some of that money is spoken for. We do designate some of that money for FAIR, the affordable housing program that's run through the Pennsylvania Housing Finance Agency. That's $80 million in the current year, but we're ramping that up to $100 million in the next 2 years. That was a law that we passed in 2024. Also, 15% of that fund goes to the Keystone Recreation Park and Conservation Fund, and that's been the case since the 1990s. And so, with the money going to FAIR, with the 15% going to the Keystone Recreation Park and Conservation Fund, this bill would take 10% of the overall total and put it towards first-time homebuyer rebate program. Based on the most recent year, $530 million, that would provide $53 million for a first-time homebuyer program, and that would be enough for about 21,000 first-time homebuyers to qualify. I think that would be a wonderful addition to the incentives we have in Pennsylvania for taxpayers and specifically encouraging home ownership. I'd like to open it up to other committee comments, other committee questions. Representative Gatos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The devil's in the details here. I see that a qualified home buyer is an individual who meets some qualifications, have not previously purchased a home within the Commonwealth. And the second item is purchased a home within this Commonwealth within 5 years prior to the date of application for this rebate program. So in other words, a person doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer. They just have to not have purchased a house within 5 years?
That's the language that was removed by the Kutz Amendment. The Kutz Amendment clarified that it's first-time home buyer. You can't buy a home once every 5 years and qualify.
I just want to make sure that that is exactly what was changed.
Yeah, we took that out. You have to be a first-time home buyer, and we do specify that it has to be a homestead. You have to live in the home. It can't be your second or third property. Can't be an apartment building. It has to be a place where you live.
Got it. Just clarifying that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Representative Gatos. I have Representative Kephart and then Representative Waxman, Representative Kephart, and Representative Rossi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am going to vote to move this bill out of committee today, and I'm going to offer my amendment on the floor, like I said. But I would say that this bill is merely fixing a symptom to a problem. If you really want to actually fix this thing, we should probably start with the regulatory burdens facing everybody in the Commonwealth when it comes to fixing or building a home. Or so, for instance, in my district, I believe DEP is currently trying to make it harder to put a sand mound in. That's a huge problem in my area because a lot of people aren't on public sewer. Additionally, I would note that 20 years ago, this assembly voted for the building code, uniform building code legislation and so forth. And I am proud to say, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to bring some names from blast from the past for you. Representative George voted against that. Representative Dan Sura voted against that. Sam Smith voted against that. There were 16 of them, and I was proud to say that my area voted against it. The legendary Bud George and Dan Sura. They were very famous people back home that voted against it, so I didn't feel so bad mentioning that vote because my predecessors in this position voted against it as well. So that is an average of $20,000, according to a calculation on here, of increase of a cost of building a home in this Commonwealth is driven by that. $20,000, that would be about, just hypothetically, if you bought a home for $200,000, some are obviously very much more than that anymore. That would probably be the average one in my district. That's 10%. This is 1%. Just making a point there. Additionally, all the other permits, building permits, everything else you have to get, there are thousands of dollars at a clip. So I'd be interested in doing a whole host of reforms that would alleviate some of the actual underlying root causes. Maybe that's not this committee, it's another committee, but I'm just saying, this is fixing a symptom of the problem, and although I'm glad that we're going to make it cheaper for some individuals, a lot of individuals my age, although I will say the average home buying thing used to be like 30 years old. Now I think it's up to like 38 or 40. It's a real problem out there. I mean, you just check the real estate market. I mean, I had a buddy who was trying to buy a house recently. He's like, oh, I think I'm going to get this one. I was like, I don't know what it's worth, maybe $250. The thing went for like $300,000. I'm like, I have no idea why that went for that much, but it's happening recurringly. So it's just the market it's insane how much this stuff's going for. So anyhow, I will support this amendment coming out of committee. I know that the sponsor and the co-prime sponsor are very much in favor of this. I just wanted to make it a point that I would like to address the actual problems we are facing as the root causes. And I want to, again, thank Representative George and Dan Sura from my area for voting against that 20 years ago.
Thank you, Representative Kephart. I'd now like to call on Representative Waxman.
Thank you, and I actually have a great Bud George story from when I was a journalist covering the legislature, but I'll save that for another time. But I got a good Bud George story. So, so first I just want to thank the maker of the bill. I'm really excited to vote yes. This is a first time buyer rebate program that I think is really going to do a lot to not only bring new people to the Commonwealth and have people who currently live here but haven't bought a home yet to make that commitment. I think that we all are aware that there is a significant shortage of just affordable housing, housing in general, and that there's tremendous pressure on the housing market. I see this as a tool to try to address some of that, and especially for people who are first-time buyers, who are the ones that are the most in need of assistance to be able to qualify and be able to purchase their first home. So I think that is really important. I did want to say, I represent a very dense urban environment. We have large buildings. We know how to build things in Center City, Philadelphia that stand the test of time. And you certainly want to make sure that anything that is being built by people who know what they're doing, have the right training, the different qualifications. And so I just want to urge other parts of the state that may be looking and hoping for a lot of construction in the terms of housing and other things, look to how we have learned in Center City. If you want to put up a big building, you want it done safely and by people who are trained. And that's something that I think is something that probably applies to people who may be buying their first home in one way or another. So thank you again for bringing the bill forward, and I'm looking forward to voting for it.
Thank you. Now I'd like to call on Chair Rossi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Although I see the intent is good for this piece of legislation to boost the sale of homes, I'm not comfortable with creating a new program that is first come, first served that wouldn't include everyone. I could be more supportive if this legislation covered everyone and lowered the dollar amount of the rebate to stay within limits qualifying all that apply within the year. It is possible this could prove to have a low hoarder for those who may hold off until the next year, realizing they fall short of qualifying. I've previously brought up that it's possible sellers would not come down when negotiating pricing, having this $2,500 rebate in mind, with the promise to the buyer that they can apply for the rebate. So in turn, this program could let the seller benefit and not the actual buyer should this occur. So if this passes, we'll see that over the 5 years, where you're going to see the real estate agent say, hey, you don't have to come down to this because they can apply for the rebate. Once they're aware of this, they're going to use that as a tool, because I'm in real estate and we know all the ins and outs. And so that's a big concern that I noticed. We see fraud in other rebate programs, such as the property tax rebate, and it's often not clear that those committing the fraudulent acts are discovered, or that those said monies are even recovered. Fraudulent claims can also claim, they create chaos, confusion. the person that the claim is filed in their name doesn't even know it happened sometimes. I'm dealing with several cases in my office right now that, you know, they call me constantly because I can't get it resolved. And so when I saw the 6-month to resolve denials, I thought, oh boy, they're just going to call me every week over this when someone files a fraudulent claim and collects. And those monies are never recovered, when we saw that with unemployment and other things. So that, you know, anytime you create a program like this, you're going to have fraud and people that figure out how to do it. With that amount of money that it takes from the general fund, I'm concerned that this grows government. So unfortunately, I'm going to be a no, but thank you for bringing this up, and the discussion is very important.
Thank you very much, Chair Rossi. Are there any other committee members who'd like to speak on the bill as amended? I would just like to conclude before calling the vote, and I appreciate the comments that were made today. I think we heard a lot of information about how tough it is to buy a home out there. It is my hope that a program for Pennsylvania first-time homebuyers will help encourage more first-time homebuyers to actually be able to get that piece of the American dream and buy their first home. I think we've put some safeguards in the bill. I appreciate Representative Kutz's amendment. And I think that if the amount is $53 million, based on the numbers from 2 years ago, that would allow 21,000 rebates. If the number's $83 million, we have a fiscal note from the Department of Revenue. They think it might be about $83 million. That would allow 33,000 rebates. We had some testimony last May from the Statewide Realtors Association, and their estimate was about 26,000. So I believe that there will be enough money in this fund on an ongoing basis to fund everyone who applies, but obviously we will see that over time. And one last point, this is a 5-year program. There's a 5-year sunset. After the first 5 years, we can make adjustments and make sure this program continues for future first-time homebuyers. I'd like to now call for the vote. So the question recurs, will the House Finance Committee report House Bill 1450 as amended? And I'd like to ask our senior committee legislative assistant to call the roll. Lori Smith.
Chairman Samuelson,
Yes.
Rep. Abney,
Yes by designation.
Sapita Freites,
Yes by designation.
Fleming, Gallagher, Gungauer,
Yes by designation.
Harris,
Yes by designation.
Inglis,
Online and yes by designation.
Krajewski,
Yes by designation.
Rab,
Yes by designation.
Scott,
Yes by designation.
Vincant,
Yes by designation.
Waxman,
Ye-
Webster.
Yes by designation.
Chairman Griner, Chairman Griner,
Yes by designation.
Devanzo,
Yes by designation.
Fritz, Gatos, Jones,
Yes by designation.
Kephart, Kutz, Mako, Rossi,
No.
Rinkavich,
Yes by designation.
Stamba,
Yes.
Stender,
Sorry. Yes
Stender.
by designation.
The House Finance Committee reports House Bill 1450 as amended by a vote of 23-3. Thank you, and with no other business, this meeting of the House Finance Committee is adjourned.